What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last weekend and the weekend before that, I saw Dunkirk. It's the latest film from director Christopher Nolan, and if you follow my reviews, you will know that Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors of all time, so I was definitely looking forward to Dunkirk. Now, I will mention that when I first read the announcement that Christopher Nolan would be directing a World War II film, I was a little bit disappointed because I was actually wanting him to direct either an action film or a science fiction film. But he ended up directing Dunkirk, and now that I've seen Dunkirk twice, I'm glad he ended up directing this film. Now, I ended up watching it twice, and the main reason why is because after watching it the first time, I felt exactly the way I felt after watching Inception and Interstellar. And that is, I thought it was a great film, but I knew that if I watched it a second time, I would enjoy it even more, just because it felt like there's a lot of details that I might have missed, and I would have taken it in better. I would take it in better on the second time because it's such a big movie. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of details there. So I felt that once I watch it a second time, I'll like it even more. And that is completely true. It is one of those films that once you watch this film again, and maybe even more times, it just keeps on getting better. And that is that film, Dunkirk. It is such a great film just because Christopher Nolan's direction really made it really outstanding. That's the one thing that really stands out about this film, the direction of the film. It's definitely a very unique war film, and I've seen a lot of war films, and I've always felt that like the top war film of all time, at least my favorite is my two favorites is Black Hawk Down from director Ridley Scott and Saving Private Ryan from Steven Spielberg. Now, this is a very different type of war film. It almost feels like Black Hawk Down in the sense that you only get to know the characters up to a bare minimum. You know just enough to care about them. It's not about getting to know all these characters and all this character development. It's about a story, and the story is really simply the evacuation of 400,000 British troops. Actually, I think it's 300,000 British troops and 100,000 French. I could be entirely wrong, but it's 400,000 troops that are just waiting there on the beach, waiting to get home. That's all this film is about. It's based off of the real-life event of Dunkirk, where these troops are evacuating and trying to survive from a German soldier-occupied France. Well, at least the French town of Dunkirk. They're just trying to get home. That's all they want to do. They want to survive so they can get home and see their family. And it's a very simple story. That's all it is. But it's a little bit more complex than that simply because of the way Christopher Nolan tells a story. Now, if you've seen any of Christopher Nolan's films, you will know that he loves to tell the story in a non-linear format. We get that type of non-linear storytelling once again. And on the first time I watched it, I actually didn't know that it was going to be like that. Of course, how would you know? I mean, you go into this film not knowing anything except for just a basic premise of the film, but you wouldn't know that it's going to be told in this style. It is told in that style, and it kind of threw me off the first time I watched it because there's no indication that tells you that this part of the film is part of this timeline and this part of the film is part of that timeline. There's no indication of that at all. You just kind of figure it out on your own, and if you don't, you'll be a little bit lost. But then once we got closer and closer to the end, that's when I started figuring it out, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. It's different. And it's also very, very unique. And what's also unique about this film is the way that there's no real main characters in this film. It feels like everybody's a supporting character, but we do have protagonists. This film is told by the soldiers, a couple of soldiers on the beach, and this pilots flying through the air, and also these townsfolk who are on a boat. Who are sailing through the sea to rescue these soldiers. It's told through these three different perspectives, and you don't really get to know these characters, but you know their determination to survive, and their determination to assist. And from that, that's all you need to know about these characters. That's all you need to know. You don't need to see any real character development. You don't even need to see, like, understand the background of these characters. And I also feel that you don't even need to know any more than that. And I think the way the story was told in this non-linear format, and with it being a really, really tight film, clocking in at only an hour and 50 minutes long, it actually works for the film. It's a very, very effective and really tight way of telling this story. This story is survival, and it totally works. Christopher Nolan's direction on this film is absolutely superb. It is near perfect. In fact, I might even say it is perfect. Maybe I would have preferred some more details about this film, because it does move along at a very, very expert pace. Like, it's a very expertly paced film, and it moves quite swiftly. There's really never a dull moment, but it's because of Christopher Nolan's direction, which really keeps you completely engaged. And why are you engaged? Because it is intense. This film is intense from the very beginning all the way to the very, very triumphant and satisfying end. It just stays intense throughout the entire film. And one thing that I also love about this film, or I thought was very, very unique, is that you really don't get to see the antagonist of the film. It's focused completely on our protagonists, and there's no real, there's no face of the enemy at all. It's just these intense moments, and you know that they're surrounded by bad guys. You know that they're surrounded by German troops, and you know they're in hostile territory, and that in itself is the antagonist. It gives you a feeling of you're always on edge, and you're never really safe, and that is how it keeps the audience always under stress, because you also got Hans Zimmer's harrowing score. It's like this score that really never actually feels like it's calm. It's always so stressful, and it creates for a very, very stressful atmosphere when you're watching this movie, and it's perfect. So such a great film. There's a lot of great performances in this film. Finn Whitehead and Mark Rylance really, really stand out. And even though there's not a whole lot of dialogue in this film, you just feel that you can see the performances and the intensity through their eyes. I think their eyes really tell a story, and they're just trying to be as calm as they can, because they can't freak out in this type of situation, because doing so, that can give away your position, and you'll end up losing it. And they just played their parts so well. I think Mark Rylance really stood out in this role, and I really like him as an actor, and I'm looking forward to seeing him more. There you have it. I really, really like this film. I don't know what I can say as a suggestion to improve this film. I don't think that this film has that many flaws, if any at all. I don't think it's a perfect film, but it is a near perfect film. I think that I would have liked to see another additional 10 minutes, maybe adding in a couple of more details to this film, to the story. But besides that, it's one of those films that once it ends, you feel like, I don't want it to end. I want to continue, because you enjoyed it so much. It was such an engaging story, and Christopher Nolan told the story really, really well. Once you watch a movie where you feel like you don't want it to end, you want it to continue, you know you're watching a good movie. And Dunkirk is an outstanding film. 9.5 out of 10. I'm putting it as my top film of 2017. I don't know who's gonna knock this film down to second place, but this is a really, really great film. I would suggest people watch it. Oh yeah, last thing I want to mention is that I saw it twice in the way it was meant to be presented, and that is 70mm IMAX and the biggest possible screen. I had to drive for 30 minutes on the freeway just to get to a theater that was presenting it in 70mm IMAX. I cannot imagine watching this in a smaller screen. It is a film that is meant to bring you right into the story, right into the battle, and it does so with this crystal clear, sharp imagery. When in 70mm format in this giant IMAX screen is so crystal clear, it brings you right into what these soldiers are going through, and that's why it's an extension of his direction, because he wants the audience to feel right there as an immersive experience, and he accomplished that. And like I said before, I can't imagine what it would be like watching it on a smaller screen. I just can't even imagine like wanting to even experience it that way. I've seen it in the best possible way. I know that not everybody has access to an IMAX screen, but if you haven't seen this film yet, watch it in the biggest possible screen, because this is a way it needs to be seen. Anyways, 9.5 out of 10. Great film, outstanding film, and Christopher Nolan does it again. As always, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Presence is split between himself and Jason Clarke's character, but now you have War for the Planet of the Apes, and